BrewCraic, zibba dooba dooba, BrewCraic.
Welcome to this BrewCraic. It's an extremely important one for me, and I'm delighted to have both Susan Wheeler and Sophie de Rund. I'll get you to pronounce that correctly in a minute. Onto this BrewCraic. It's one that we were excited about because it's to announce collaboration between Burnt Mill Brewery and Hop Revolution. So thank you both for coming on. I understand you're both incredibly busy at this time. We're working with the time difference as well. So it's great. So look, I'm going to kick it off, and I want to know a little bit more about yourselves. Susan, I think I'll go to yourself first because you've been on our BrewCraic before. So basically, I just want to know a little bit more. We already had some introductions to you in the past, Susan. I think most people in the industry are very familiar with yourself. But I want to know a little bit more about yourself and Hop Revolution, and of course, how is Hop Harvest going? Because I'm sure you're incredibly busy.
Thanks, Joan. Yeah, well, so I'm Susan Wheeler. I'm the founder of Hop Revolution down here in New Zealand. So we're a hop growing company. We've currently got 2 farms under production, which is just on, I want to say, about 230 hectares producing. We are, as you say, right in the middle of harvest. So this is our 3rd harvest since we started. I'd love to say that it's going all smoothly, but New Zealand's in the middle of its Omicron outbreak, which we knew was going to hit us right in harvest. And it's definitely thrown some curveballs at us managing staff, trying to keep bubbles separated. But on the plus side, the weather's been amazing. The hops are looking fantastic, and halfway through, we're quietly confident that we're going to be okay.
Great. You're showing great resilience. That's definitely difficult and probably something that you cannot plan for, but I'm delighted to hear that the hops are doing well.
I think if the weather, I'm sitting here and it's a gorgeous autumn day, so blue sky, really pleasant weather. I think if it was raining, we'd be saying something slightly different and not nearly as chirpy as I am right now.
It's good to hear that. Sophie, of course, you're new to this BrewCraic, and I'm really interested to hear about your story, how you became in the position you are now. You're head brewer at Burnt Mill Brewery, which is, I'm sure, an incredibly challenging role. So yeah, I'd just love to know a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah. So first of all, you did pronounce my name correctly. Well done.
Yes. Great. We have so many guests on this channel that I definitely know that I'm going to insult someone at some stage by pronouncing their name wrong. So I'm delighted to hear I got
it right. Yeah. So currently head brewer at Burnt Mill Brewery. We've been going for 5 years come May, and we've been kind of going from strength to strength, and I've been absolutely loving it. It's a great company to work for, really small team, and we're steadily growing, and it's just been really nice to get top quality beers out there and on a consistent basis, and just trying to improve the company as a whole and just expand and get all sorts of different plans in place that most brewers want, like extra tanks and extra space and all of that kind of stuff. It's just been fantastic because I've got the freedom from my boss to try and use sort of the best quality ingredients as possible. And yes, price does always have a factor in it, but he's quite willing to accept that we do have to pay that slightly higher price for the top quality ingredients. So that's been really, really nice to have the pleasure to be able to do that.
Brilliant. Of course, the reason we're on today, and it's ahead of the Brew Day, is that we're announcing this collaboration we're doing between yourselves, Burnt Mill Brewery, and Hop Revolution. And of course, I want to know a little bit more about. Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you both for being involved in the collaboration. And Sophie, if you could just maybe tell us a little bit. I know the brew day hasn't happened yet, but the plans for the brew day, and what hop choices we're using, and what's the big plans for the day.
Yeah, so Brew Day is actually taking place next week. Unfortunately, this week our production schedule is fully booked with the International Women's Day happening. And so it's, we're really excited actually that you guys approached us to do a collab with you, and absolutely love the New Zealand hops. Really, really do love them, and you get so much out of them. So it's really exciting to be able to file some of these Hop Revolution's products into our beers and see what they're like. So we're going to be doing a 6% hazy IPA. So I say fairly standard, but it's what the people love.
Absolutely, that's what I love.
And we have gone for a blend of Nelson Sauvin, Motueka, and the Hop Revolution's own blend, which I might let you explain yourself.
So Susan, I think you're the most equipped person to tell us about these varieties of hops. Their profiles and aromas.
Thanks, Sophie. I mean, look, I totally agree. I mean, hazy IPAs, I drink a million of them, and I will carry on drinking them because they're fantastic. And I think some of our varieties just really perform beautifully in them. I'm excited to hear, obviously, you're using the Revolution blend. So the Revolution blend was something we decided to do a couple of years ago. And it was almost not that we're trying to take this out of the brewer's hands or anything, but we liked the idea of mixing up specific lots of individual varieties to create what we almost describe as like a quintessential New Zealand flavour profile. So in the blend we've got late picked Nelson, so more on that sort of intense diesely, almost sulphur spectrum, mixed with early malt, which we find incredibly bright, and that lifts it quite a lot. We then have a small amount of our Rewalker in it, because obviously Rewalker is a variety many brewers would love to get their hands on, and it's hard to produce, so we want enough in there so you get some of those characteristics coming through. And then it's also got our Pacific Sunrise variety in it, so we're currently the only grower of that variety in New Zealand, and the more we learn about it, the more we find it's a really complementary hop that adds quite a fruity undertone to other varieties, and kind of I like to think of it as an enhancer that it helps deliver the expression of the other hops as well. So it'll be great to see what you think about it when you mix those three hop products together.
Can't wait. Really can't wait.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'm really excited about this collab. I think we will be definitely sharing more about it, probably on our social platforms and across the board. But I think that it's fantastic that Sophie and Susan, you are both leading women in the industry, and that's just something, considering it's International Women's Day with you today, Susan, and tomorrow with ourselves, Sophie. But I just want to touch on something quite topical, in that what would be, considering both yourselves are really strong leaders in this industry. I'm quite new to it myself. I'm only in it 2 years, and I think probably it's more common to see a woman in a marketing role rather than Susan yourself. You're more agricultural, and Sophie in the brewing world. I'm sure you have faced challenges, and I just would love to hear maybe from you both what oaths of advice you'd give to, you know, a woman who's considering a career in agriculture or brewing, or what, you know, advice you might give them. So maybe, Susan, I'll ask you first, maybe from your perspective, because they're probably different perspectives, what that might be.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's, to me, I love growing things. My background is, I've come out of the viticulture industry, so, you know, obviously growing grapes for the wine industry. The hop industry is very male dominated, and historically it's lots of families who have grown up and done this for multi-generational. So as a female, you know, first generational hop grower, it has been challenging at times, but Hop Revolution itself, we've got a huge amount of females who work for us. So at the moment, we've got seasonal workers who are here on tourist visas, you know, backpackers driving tractors, working in the sheds, and we've got our permanents as well. So we've got, you know, young females coming through who have chosen to get involved in agriculture. And I mean, to me, it's the dream role. I mean, you know, I grow plants, I work outside, and then I interact with brewers and drink beer and talk hops with brewers all over the world. I mean, really, it's a perfect role, and I'd love to see more women get into it. I mean, there's no reason that this has to be a male-dominated industry.
Absolutely not. Yeah, I totally agree. And Sophie, yourself, you've come through in the brewing industry, which is heavily male dominated. What would be your, you know, view on it, or, you know, what would be your advice for a woman who wants to become a head brewer? And we're talking about, you know, the young girls, and who are, you know, trying to figure out their career choices. And I think that being in brewing is definitely something they should consider.
Yeah, especially if you do like the practical side of things, and actually quite a lot of science-based stuff. It's certainly an industry to consider. I've always been a person to just follow my heart and my gut in terms of what I want to do in life, and I've never understood that there might be something that would stop me from doing anything. So I've just kind of gone ahead and done things. And I've never had any issues. I think probably just sheer bullheaded determination. But yeah, certainly there's a lot of people women that have come into the industry, not necessarily first off, but a little bit later on in sort of like their mid or late 20s or even early 30s. And best thing to do is, if you're interested in beer and brewing, is just to go around to your local breweries and just get experience days and get your hands stuck in and get dirty and just absorb as much information and as much practical practice as you can. It's tough to get into the industry now, men and women. The demand for high quality beer is out there, and so having a little bit of education behind you is probably what most brewers are after, even if it's like the IBD craft brewers introduction course, or Brew Lab introduction course up in Sunderland. I don't know what kind of courses there are in New Zealand for brewers, but things like that in the UK are fantastic, and they're really, really good introductory courses into brewing, and give someone a good base and understanding of what you actually need to know for brewing.
Yeah, I think it's a testament. You said there, it's difficult to get into the industry, and to get to such a high level and profile that you are at. So, you know, congratulations on that. Like, it's a testament to yourself. But
yeah, I mean, I joined the industry about 14, 15 years ago. So back then there was 200, maybe 300 breweries in the country. And I just fell in love with beer working in a real ale pub. I was pulling casks from the cellar to serve behind the bar, and I just loved it and just wanted to know more about it. So I just approached our local brewery, and that was sort of it. But yeah, the competition is pretty fierce now.
Yeah.
Mm.
Look, it's been fantastic speaking to you about this. I think that the main thing that the gap does need to be closed in terms of, I do think more women should consider a career in brewing and agriculture, and I think both yourselves are, great leaders. Would you be, have you ever been approached before by anyone who has looked for advice? Because I think that's something that, both you guys could be willing to offer advice and tips to people, to young people, or anyone considering the career.
Oh, totally. I mean, I love seeing, not just females, but obviously particularly young people being attracted back to agriculture. It's not the sexiest of industries, and I think a lot of people think the hard work and being outdoors and all of that, it's not the easiest path to choose. But we've got some young people here who this is their third harvest. I think some of them were 17 when they started straight out of school, and they're now shift leaders and running the drying decisions, and that to me is really encouraging, that it's now a career rather than a fill-in job before you decide what you want to do later on in life. So I would love to see it happening more and more, and it needs to. I mean, at the end of the day, if we don't have young people coming through, the farms just stop.
Look, I think we'll end it on that. I think we will hear more from Vote Yourself, Susan and Sophie, in terms of the run up to this brew day. I'm really looking forward to it, and I want to wish you both a happy International Women's Day.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks for organising this, Joan. I mean, Sophie, this is actually my first collab with a female head brewer, so I'm super pumped to see what you come up with.
Brilliant. Yeah, well, look, I think this is the second all-female BrewCraic that I've been on. So, and since that was probably in the early stages when I started with Lochran. So I think in the 2 years that I've been there, I've learned so much, and I really now can appreciate that if I can do it. I probably came from more retail tourism industry. If I can learn, and I know so much more now about hops and flavor profiles and things that when I first started, I never imagined that I could have understood. So I think if I can do it, anyone can. So, look, thanks for coming on, and we will chat to you both soon. And Susan, good luck with the rest of Hop Harvest. I'm sure you'll persevere through, and we're also sharing some updates on our social media platforms and how it goes.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot.
See you.
Bye. Yes, bye.
Zibba-dooba-doo-bum.